So Alderman of the Sky has wrapped up its season with episode 13, and I have to say this episode is exactly what I wanted, because last week was a disappointment in a lot of ways. It felt underwhelming and just not that strategic from what we have seen with the series, especially with Ikta in the beginning. He was a very clever guy, and last week just left me with a bit of a bitter taste. It wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't that great either. This episode was fantastic. This is exactly what I was expecting. Something with a lot of planning, a lot of strategy, and a lot of cunning the enemy into doing what you want. And I have to say, this was a brilliant final episode. And it doesn't end in a completely cliffhanger way either, since this is Madhouse and they generally don't do a second season, generally because the publishers don't let them do more because it's just used to boost the source material. Where they ended this is actually a pretty decent stopping point. It leaves it well open for more because, you know, it gets set up with the princess that the princess wants Ikta to rise to the very top, to then lose a war in a strategic way to save the country, but Ikta isn't planning to fight for the country. He's only planning to protect his family, to protect Yatori, and if he did that, it would actually make her family turn against him, and he's not about that life. So it sets up so many possibilities of what they could do with more content, which I'm sure the light novels go far into, and it will be amazing. But it's okay to stop here in a lot of ways if we never get more anime, because we get to see a decent stopping point. We can theorize in our head, maybe he does lose the war, and maybe everyone does go after him that he was protecting, or possibly, you know, he goes against the country and kills the princess. It gives us enough of the stopping point that it leaves us room for more, but also lets us be somewhat satisfied. At least I was. But I love the planning on how they actually countered this general, where they actually light oil so when they are charging in, he would smell the oil, because like Ikta, he would know something's up, so he doesn't fully advance, he doesn't charge in, because he sees that the crossbow men that are waiting will just set him aflame and burn them. But what he didn't know is that Ikta and everyone else is actually under the hay and charge in with light, so they flash everyone, and they just non-stop destroy their army. It's a pretty even batch, but they do get a head advantage because they do this. But what Ikta does is so brilliant. He actually uses a flag to not say that they want to negotiate. We are willing to negotiate, meaning they are willing to fight to the last man, but if you want to stop this and talk, we are up to do that. So it puts him on the offensive, but also puts the enemy on defense because they have to take it up, because they don't want to have pointless casualties. So that right there, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is what I've been wanting from Alderman for a little while now. Pure strategy, and just everything about that was excellent. The negotiation was honestly the best part of the entire episode, because we have Ikta versus this general, the final confrontation, and the only one we've had so far, and it forms the best rivalry I think the show will ever have, or even the series in general, because it's so great seeing two minds that are so alike go back to back, and to see Ikta finish him off in an excellent way, where he negotiates saying, listen, pull back, we are going to retreat in 2 days. And if you don't, and then he shines a light on him and says, I have one of my snipers up there, which he doesn't, it's all a bluff, but there's a 10% chance that he's not bluffing, and they both know this, so he has to accept it. That's what I'm talking about. This is how we end it. This makes up for kind of the lacklusterness from the past few episodes of not really being that strategic. This makes up for it. Ending on a high note like this is what I like to see. It ends in a decent way, but also has a brilliant ending with the actual battle. And watching the two set aflame that pyre and separating, saying, why, what do you fight for? You know, you have to leave this to our side. And he just says, you know, you're just a hero who's going to get worked to death and, you know, exit. I love the dialogue between both of them. It was so entertaining, and I'm just glad we got that confrontation, because we've been waiting to see this. Two of the brilliant minds of this generation go head to head who would win, and honestly, the way they detailed it, either one of them could have won, because both generals, Ikta and the other guy, both are good. They're both honestly on par with one another, but because Ikta outsmarted him in laying this trap, he had the advantage, and there's a 10% possibility that he would die from that shot. It may not be a lot, but it's enough to pull him out. So that was an excellent strategy right there. As well, the animation was on point overall for the most part of the episode, but what I like they did, which it was a way to cut, you know, production time, but it was actually done stylistically, where they actually take a very detailed, clean drawing, and they pan it with a little bit of blood going across the screen, honestly like a visual novel, and it looked beautiful. They did it for multiple characters, Yatori, everyone in there, it looked excellent. I loved how it looked this episode, and the lighting, of course, was on point, especially with the fire. The voice acting, everything about this episode was really well done. I wouldn't change anything really, except that I would, end a confirmed second season next year or something like that with it. But otherwise, this was a perfect way to wrap up the series, honestly. This series was fun. This was refreshing with Ikta because he's such a unique main character. We really don't see this kind of playboy persona mixed in with strategy and not brute strength. Someone who thinks with his mind and not with his dick, because that's what these harem main characters or just, shonen protagonists who just think with their fists, it's much better than that. It does have some rough spots around, the last third of the anime with it feeling a bit too dry and not that much strategy compared to the earlier stuff, but it does wrap up in a pretty nice way, and if they make more, excellent, but it's enough of a conclusion that I'm willing to recommend this to people even if Madhouse doesn't get to do a second season, because it's a pretty decent stopping point. But overall, I had a lot of fun discussing the series. It was one of the best anime, in my opinion, of the summer 2016 anime season, and hopefully they get to do more if the publishers allow them, because I'm sure Madhouse would do more if the publishers give them the green light to do so. But overall, I loved the episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think overall in the series and this final episode? And what do you think? Do you think we're going to get a second season? I know Madhouse gets a bad rep because they don't do a lot of second seasons, but it's not actually Madhouse who stops it. It's actually the publishers. And I don't know if the authors of the light novel was actually working with Madhouse on this, so if they got a good, reputation between the two, possibly we could get more, but I doubt it, but I'm happy with what we got, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hit that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more content like this and so much more. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.